Hello everyone! So today I want to demonstrate to you how to turn data, like you see that list over here, into insights in a couple of minutes. And I will take some time to do that because there's some specialties within there you're may dealing with yeah, on a daily basis. So this data is from a city called Mainz, which is close to Frankfurt. And the every row contains a speed camera, and not just like the district, which is the first part, the first column, but also the street. Okay, so yeah, it's just representing each and every street over here, and then the amount of time this speed camera was located in this street. Okay, and then there's the reason why the city decided to put a street camera in that street, and we are going to see what we can do with it by making use out of Tableau. So first of all, I want to show you how to turn a list like that, which just contains a street and a city, into a geographical information like longitude and latitude. So find latitudeandlongitude.com is a free tool you can use on the web to actually just copy and paste lists like that into it, and then actually say, please geocode that for me. And what's actually happening, it's taking each and every line and trying to figure out the longitude and latitude for that street. That's pretty much it, okay? It's free, so therefore it gets slower and slower the more addresses you put in there. So if I have like thousands of rows, then I split that into like a couple of hundreds, a couple of hundreds, a couple of hundreds, and then just open this tab like a couple of times. So then it's way faster than letting that process yeah, as one large list. Okay, but like I said, it's free. So now let's take that list and just copy and paste that into any flat file editor. So I'm using Notepad++ in that case, and I'm going to paste that into it. So now I just have the first 50 rows, and I'm going to save this as a CSV file. Okay, so let's save that as speed cameras Mainz, and I want to have it as a CSV file. So therefore, let's go up here and let's make it a CSV. Okay, that's the first part of it. Okay, I created, or I just have the raw data in one file. So now let's open up Tableau, and I'm going to put that on this screen for you, and I'm going to open a text file, which is exactly this speed camera. Okay, first of all, I recognize that this one down here, this table, this preview, looks really weird. And every time you're dealing with something like that, start to go up here and try to explain Tableau how this file is structured. And first of all, you can do that by opening up like your editor or wherever you have the data in, and you can see that you have all these small commas over here. Okay, so this tells you it's a comma separated list. Therefore, I'm going to say Tableau, hey, this is a comma separated list. And then you see you have way more columns than you had before. Anyhow, you still recognize that there are like these colons or like quotes over here, and I want to get rid of them. And this can be done by using the text qualifier, okay? Because that's like normal again within such CSV lists, and maybe you're totally familiar with that. Maybe you're working in a business area and you're not familiar with that. Just take it as a hint. Okay? One last part. Now everything looks way better, at least from here, but yeah, there are still some problems we need to figure out. So first of all, there are null values over here, a couple of null values. So we could filter on like these 4 different columns and say, please filter out everything which is null. And another method to do that would be just filtering on the status code, because you can see like the status code 602, which this batch geocode thing on the web gives me back, just says, well, I couldn't find a longitude and latitude for this particular street. Okay, so I'm going to use the status code as a filter. On the top right, you see like a filter which applies first, like independent from all the sheets you're going to use in the future. It's called a data source filter, and I'm going to say I want to use the status code and I want to filter by 200. Okay, so I just want to include everything if it contains 200, because then status code is valid. Last but not least, you see I have ABC on top of longitude and latitude. Okay, this tells me Tableau does not recognize this as a number, but as a text. And the reason for that is this small dot. People in the US are now thinking, okay, why should I care? Well, for you it's different. Your machine, your local machine, where you have Tableau installed on, is configured as a US machine. So therefore, this is Tableau is dealing with that like perfectly fine. But for all the German or European locals, this can cause an issue, because then you can't plot that on a map. Therefore, just go back over here to the local setting, or locale setting, and just tell Tableau, please deal with that particular file as it would be a file from the US. Now you see every dot is represented as a comma, and now Tableau says, well, now I can easily say it's latitude and longitude. Okay? So that was the first part, just the data preparation. Now let's go into the visuals. So first of all, I want to see all these speed cameras on a map. So double click on latitude, double click on longitude, and I see just the average for all these values we already have in our CSV file, which has been like the 50 rows. So I'm just going to take the returned or original address, doesn't matter, on the detail, and now each and every value is plotted on a map. So each and every speed camera is plotted on this map. So now I want to know if there's a particular speed camera which was in a certain street more than once, it should be larger. So I would react in the following way. I would say, okay, let's take the number of records, put it on size, but it's not what we want, because we see like we have Mainz, for example, which is not a street but the whole city, where we have 2 records. So if I go to the underlying data, I see I have 2 records which just represent Mainz, but it's like there's a street in there, and I want to just see everything where like batch geocode figured out the exact street, but not just Mainz in general. So first of all, I want to filter that out. And secondly, what I realized is that there was no information about the number of the street in the raw data. Let me show you that again. So when I go just back, you see over here, this is the street, and this is the amount of time where the speed camera was located in this street. But batch geocode thought it would be the number of that street. Okay, so that's not a problem in terms of longitude and latitude, because, I mean, just give me Am Winterhafen 2 instead of Am Winterhafen in general. So that is just a couple of meters. But I need this to actually plot that on the map to actually see how many times was a speed camera in the street Am Winterhafen. So how can we deal with that? First of all, I give this one a name. It's our map. And I create a second sheet where I just take the original address and put it on a list. So what I need is I need to get this number out as a separate field, which I can then put into the measures, which I can then put onto the size. Make sense? okay, so that I can use it as like a normal measure. So how can we do that? So some of you could now think about regular expressions, and I'm more than happy if you give me feedback on that video to actually show you how you can do that with regular expressions. I'm more than happy to show you that. I'm going to do something way more easy so that you can directly try that out with your data, and that is actually splitting that field. Okay, so if I go back to original address, there's something called transform. And let's just try the split to see what it actually does. So Tableau tries to recognize like a common sense in all these different fields to figure out yeah, how to split that. But this is in that case not working out too well. So let's get rid of those two fields. And instead of a normal split, I'm going to do a custom split. So let's see what we have. So the original address is like there's a first part to it and a second part. The first part is city and district, and then there's something behind that. Instead of now saying, okay, split that at each and every blank, I can just try to use returned address instead, because there's something special in there. So there's a comma, which is separating the street with the number we need and the rest of it. So why not doing the following? I'm going to transform that by, let's try a split again, but I could also say just use the comma as a separator. And if you're now doing that, Tableau is directly giving me the first part until the delimiter of the comma, which is pretty much what we need. So let's call that our returned address street plus amount, because that was the amount of speed cameras. And now I'm going to create a second calculation, which is part of the string calculations, which is called write. And write, like you can see over here, is just taking any string and you define the amount of characters you want to get extracted out of that. So in our case, I take the returned address street and I just need the very right value. Okay, and this is our amount of speed cameras. Great. Everything is fine with that so far. So now we have the number. The only thing you still see is it's recognized as an ABC, as a text field. So let's turn that into a number. And in this case, it's a whole number. It's not a decimal, but it's not too important. I can now move it to the measures, and let's do it again, to the measures, and I can put that on the columns, and then I see exactly what we need over here. Okay, the amount of time when a speed camera was placed in a certain street. Let's go back to our map. Let's take the amount of speed cameras, put it on size, and here we go. We see that plenty of times in the Haifa Allee in Mainz, speed cameras were placed at, as well as Rheinstraße. Okay, so these are our first two insights. How can we make that more interesting? Well, first of all, I'm going to copy and paste the latest information from our geocoding into our CSV file. Okay, so Control A, Control V, and Control S. So that was like marking everything, replace it by everything I have in my clipboard, and then saving that again. Go back to Tableau, refresh the data. Now it's querying the data from the data source again. So this looks weird now. We have something like very much over here, and then we have small amounts over here. And the reason for that is that batch geocode recognized like two different things on top over here. So let's take these values over here and exclude them. And then we are back like with our clean data. Okay, that looks good. To make it looking even better, there are a couple of ways I always do. So first of all, if I have overlapping circles, I add transparency to it and a border. Okay, that makes it easier to see the different values over there, the different bubbles. On top of that, since Tableau 9.1, we have something called a Mapbox integration. So we don't just support WMS servers, but also Mapbox. And Mapbox is like the Tableau for maps. Okay, that's pretty much it. And you can define your own maps over here as long as you're a registered member of mapbox.com. And I'm going to copy and paste my token over here. And then I can choose which map I want to have. So these are the basic maps. There are way more over there. Let's take my most favorite one, which is run, bike, and hike, or street and satellite. Let's just try it out, what works best for us. So this would be one version. Let's take my favorite, run, bike, and hike, because this contains all the information to the streets, right? So if I now zoom in, you not just see the bubble, but also like the street of it. Okay, which really helps me to see, is there a main street where this speed camera was located at or not? Okay, let's do two more things. I mean, now I can say, well, I live close to that area over here, which is called Ebersheim. So I want to highlight the different areas of mine, so the different districts. And I want to filter on them so that I can have a look at it by myself. So therefore, I want to group all these different speed cameras. So let's group this one as Ebersheim. That's how this district is called like. And let's do that for this area here as well. And this is my, not my, mine says Laubenheim. Okay. What can I do with it? Tableau created a group out of these visuals I grouped together. So let's call this our districts. And I can easily use that as a filter now. I mean, it's already on color, but now let's filter on that. I'm just interested in Ebersheim and Laubenheim because I want to drive to Frankfurt. And then I can easily say, okay, so as part of the main street, there are a couple of hotspots over here I should like focus on when I drive through Ebersheim next time. Okay, that would be like something I can easily see as part of the map and my visual over here. So that is good. Let's have the same look at Laubenheim, but it works in the exact same way. Okay, and the combination of Mapbox and Tableau is really great over here. But I don't want to define all these different districts by my own. I want to try to get this information out of the data. So again, I'm going back to a crosstab, which helps me just to do something like that, where I want to extract information out of something which is in the raw data. So I take the original address to again have a look at it. And we were already talking about that at the very beginning when I was using the wrong field in the case I wanted to solve. So here we have the district, and I want to extract that. And you see, like, every district start with mines, and afterwards there's a blank, and then everything else. So why not doing the same thing we did earlier, regular expressions or the split function? I'm going to say I want to use a blank, and I just want to use like the first column of that blank. Now, put that over here. I just have the district. Okay, so edit that, not edit. Here you see like what's happening behind the scenes. But that's not what I wanted to do. I just wanted to rename it, and we call that our districts. But this is now from our raw data. Whereas the first district we had was a visual grouping. Okay, I could go back now, replace the visual grouping with the raw data, put that to the color. So now each and every location is marked as a district, right? Color-wise. So yeah, I see where district starts and where it ends pretty much. And I could also use that as a filter again. What's wrong with the filters? I mean, there's nothing bad about that if you focus on a particular part, but I want to still have the context information of that district. And the context information in that case would be, what about the number of speed cameras per district? I mean, that's something which was not even part of the PDF file. I mean, with Tableau, easily just take the district, take the amount of speed cameras, sort it, and here you go. Okay, just filter out everything which does not contain data, in this case speed cameras, and here you go. I mean, you see easily that in Mainz-Gonsenheim, most of the speed cameras are located at, and so on and so forth. So you have a ranking out of that. So this would be our district overview. Now let's put that together on a dashboard so that you can filter on that. So let's auto size that. Let's take the map and let's take our districts and let's just resize that a little bit to the entire view. And now I want to filter on just Gonsenheim to actually see where are the speed cameras located in Mainz-Gonsenheim or Mainz-Oberstadt or in several ones. Okay, so you now created that context and you can just filter on these districts where you drive through most of the time. So if you're then adding a header to it, you're using custom fonts, custom colors, like a logo from your company, that can make the whole thing look way better than before. Okay, I mean, it's 1,000 times better than the PDF we saw earlier. So for example, there was also something part of the data, which is the reason why a speed camera was located at a certain place. And of course, you can filter on that in the exact same way. The whole idea of the visual itself, like it's represented, especially the left part with the 3D-ish kind of container on top of the map, that was actually not my idea. So I want to thank Brian Halloran, who's like a contributor of our Tableau public community. You can directly jump to his visual and you see it's just looking awesome, and you can adopt so many stuff he did. You can just go ahead, download his workbook, try to re-engineer a couple of things. If you have questions about it, just reach out to me and I'm more than happy to give another video on that. I will publish the visualization about the speed cameras on Tableau Public as well. If you have anything you want to know, just let me know. More than happy to give you feedback on that.